have a follow-up question related to these negative comments because, mashallah, you raise yourself to a certain level to just overlook those negative comments and see the good you are producing to benefit the community, to benefit, let's say, humanity at large. Whoever comes across a good reminder you are putting out there, calling them to goodness, asking them to do good and avoid evil. But at the same time, we have a lot of revert Muslim people who came into the religion from many parts of the world, and they will surely face these kind of challenges. And if they're not mentally grounded in terms of sincerity, in terms of knowledge, in terms of all the factors you mentioned, what additional advice you will give to such brothers who get affected very badly by these negative comments on social media, particularly YouTube?
Are you talking about comments from Muslims or non-Muslims?
It can be both, because people will come up, for example, a Muslim will come, he will see this man trying to convey a message, and then it's not fitting what he has in mind, and then he will leave a negative comment. You know, you may disagree with somebody approach in understanding certain things and all that, and they will not hesitate to attack you in person. Instead of seeing what you're trying to convey, as you said, they leave out the most important part of the message you want to convey. They focus on one particular tiny things that has no relevance, basically.
Right. So for these Revert brothers and sisters, okay, I'm going to talk about this separately, comments from non-Muslims and comments from Muslims, because they're different. So when it comes to comments from non-Muslims, especially, let's say, haters of Islam, Islamophobes, that try to scare you away from Islam, that try to basically put out this new passion that you have for Islam. I had a similar experience when I just started learning about Islam, and it was on the Chinese internet. There was a website called Zhihu, which is similar to Quora. It's a Q&A website. So I went into the section where questions are about Islam and Muslims, because I was trying to learn about Islam. And then I found that most of the answers are from non-Muslims, and they are very negative answers. Basically, based on those answers, Islam is like the worst religion on earth, and it's like dangerous and evil and backward, etc. But that kind of observation made me more curious, because if they're right, then I should know why they're right. But if they're wrong, then I should know how they're wrong, and I can respond to them. So that really stimulated in me a passion for learning. Because you cannot claim Islam is evil without evidence. Present your evidence, and then I will research and present my evidence, and let's see who's more right. So that kind of passion led me to study Islam to deeper depths, to a wider extent. I watched a lot of videos. Whenever they say Islam is this, I will go research on it and find out the exact opposite. This, that Islam oppresses women, I go study on women in Islam, and I find out how Islam truly liberates women from 1400 years ago, and it ensures the well-being of the female gender in society in so many different ways. So that actually eventually strengthened my iman instead of destabilizing. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. The disbelievers, they wish to
extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That Allah will make it widespread, walau karihal kafirun, even if they don't like it. If they hate it, this is what's going to happen. So for my Revert brothers and sisters, I want you to have that kind of persistence and resistance. Okay, some negative comments about Islam, don't jump to conclusions. Okay, you go study, research on it, ask a knowledgeable friend, a scholar, and say, is this the case? It's okay to ask questions in Islam. It's okay to have doubts, but don't jump to conclusions. And if you do that, if you patiently seek answers to those questions, and if you patiently go to the original sources, go to the Quran and the Sunnah and the scholarly books, and try to find out the answers to those books, I'm pretty sure that the result will be your iman, your faith will be even strengthened after that process. So that's about comments from non-Muslims, especially comments that are hateful against Islam. And then when it comes to comments from Muslims, people who say, "Oh, this is haram, you shouldn't do this. This is wrong, you shouldn't do this. How come you don't have a beard yet? How come you're not wearing a topi yet? What's wrong with you, bro?" We have to understand, for my Revert brothers and sisters, that the Muslim Ummah contains more than 1.8 billion people, I think, conservatively speaking. And among that many people, there is bound to be diversity. Diversity in culture, diversity in perspectives, diversity in social competence, diversity in communication skills. Just people are different, very different.
Yeah.
In some areas of the world, some Muslims might have attached certain cultural elements to the religion, and they think that's a part of the religion, whereas it might not be the case. For example, a certain dress code, the sharwa khamis of the Pakistani culture. Some Pakistani Muslims would think this is a part of Islam. If you wear a suit and a tie, they will say, "Well, what is this? This is shaitanic dress code." It's not, right? As long as you cover your aura, as long as your clothes is dignified, make people respect you, it's good, right? It's nothing wrong with that. So first we need to understand what is cultural and what is religious. And that again requires knowledge. And when you see a comment that is directed at you, but you understand this is from a cultural perspective, not a religious perspective, and you can reply nicely and say, "Oh, brother, you know what? Thank you for your suggestion, but it's part of your culture and I respect that, but I'm from a different culture and I do it a different way, but still, in line with the Islamic teachings." That's all fine. There's nothing wrong with that. When it comes to things that are genuinely from a religious perspective, for example, some people might tell you that dating is haram, and this is true. Now, this is based in the religion. It's nothing to do with culture. So now you have to take it seriously, and it's hard, I know, but Islam is about transformation, is about changing yourself, and any change involves some pain, and that pain is a positive pain. What doesn't kill you make you stronger, right? As they say. So we should actually try to train ourselves to be braver in the face of this so-called negative comments. They're not really negative, they're constructive. And change is, we just have to prepare ourselves and understand that change always involves some pain. But as long as we overcome those pain, overcome that tiny bit of hardship in the initial stage, the sweetness that comes after is tremendous, is unimaginable. So Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says, actually we know one of the most famous hadith, I think, is that whatever you abandon for the sake of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jalla
replaces it with something better for you. Yes.
Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that this change will not happen immediately. It's not like, okay, today you give up your haram relationship and tomorrow a proposal comes and you get married. It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes like that. But sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years after you abandon the sin that something good will come. And Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says this is a task for the believer to see whether this abandoning is truly for the sake of Allah. Because if it is, you will be patient. Even if the replacement doesn't come yet, you will be patient because you understand that this will happen sooner or later. But when it will happen is not in your hands. It's Allah Azza wa Jalla. So for these Revert brothers and sisters, I would also suggest patience, right? You want to make a change, and but you also wanted to, make your life better. It will make your life better, but not necessarily immediately. You want to take time, so be patient. And also, one thing that I believe, exacerbated this problem is the fact that they put themselves online too early.
Right.
I believe the initial stage of a person's Islam should be a very private journey. When you start, really drowning into the knowledge of Islam, when you start practicing and training regularly, it should be a very private thing. You should really personally feel the sweetness of Salah, for example, or the personal sweetness of reciting the Quran, reading the Quran. There's nothing worth showing publicly about that. It's supposed to be very private. I don't mean to say that Islam only emphasizes the private acts of worship. It doesn't. It has many communal things in Islam. But we shouldn't overlook those privacy. We shouldn't overlook those seclusion that is, encouraged by Islam. Because when you have a private relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have a private appreciation for the acts of worship, you'll be better able to respond to the public opinions and the public reactions. So I would also suggest that for the Revert brothers and sisters, in the beginning stage of your Islam, try to maintain a certain amount of seclusion and privacy. Don't show everything online, and because that give people the opportunity to attack you, and then that might harm you and harm your motivation and your passion. But
Right.
just find a few, just a selected few trustworthy friends who have good manners, who are knowledgeable. They will still give you suggestions, but for these people, they will give you suggestions in a more polite way, uh,
Right.
in a wiser way, and you might take it better. The Muslims on the internet, they don't know you, so
Right.
they may not show any friendliness to you.
And
Or
they also don't know what is your background, where you're coming from. They just
exactly, they don't know your struggle. They don't know
mhm,
your hardship. They assume
absolutely.
it's easy for
Mhm.
you, which may not be the case. But go to the local imam who understands the social circumstances. Go to a friend in the same university who understands the challenges in the university. And when they
Right.
give you suggestions, those suggestions will be more comprehensible. They will acknowledge your challenges. So yeah, don't be too famous too early. In the beginning stage, remain a certain level of privacy.